still quite an important connection.
Yes.
And I've got no problem with the trying to make it so that it is, should we say, the curb and channeling is not a mountable thing. It's nice and easy walked over. But I think from a point of view of a small driveway almost, because that's what through the back of the domain is, connected onto Spy Road roundabout, I'm not sure how that's really going to work, personally.
Well, we did discuss this, and I can remember the comment raised, what about me with my boat and trailer coming up there, and it was discussed that that could still be done. You just have to be a little bit more careful when you're passing people. And I had a funny feeling, I think it was, I know I'm getting old and my memory's slipping, Councillor McKelvey or someone raised the point, well, what about when I want to come down there to the market or something with my horse float full of pumpkins? Now, was that right? Is my memory good?
Mr. Chairman, you've got a brilliant memory.
I thought so. So we discussed all those because we talked about what capacity that road would be able to take. And it was even designed to take bigger trucks, like coming in buses to pick up contestants and what these silly people do by running around the lake and biking around the lake and all those silly things that they do.
Hey,
is that right, Mr. Mayor?
Steady on, I'm one of those.
So we discussed that. So that road is still capable of doing that. It's just that it doesn't have the capacity that it's currently got, where people can roar up and down like they currently do.
Providing we've got that capability.
Yes, we have.
Because at the events, you're quite right, all the cycles get, when we have the cycle rates, they all get put on these big trucks and they've got to get out.
I don't think the base of the road that's currently is going to change much. It's just a slight design, etc. on the sides. Yeah. Councillor Fucking.
However, on page 55, under implementation with no, but I'm just because it refers back to this.
Yes, I know.
And it refers back to it refers specifically to Redart Street, and it says be narrower than the current road and may well be finished in an alternative surface like cobblestones, which I thought would be absolutely remarkable for pushchairs and bicycles and wheelchairs and mobility scooters and your walkers and your runners and your people in events, and I found that extraordinary, to say nothing of the police cars roaring out there. We'll
discuss that when we get there.
But that just also refers back into this part here very much.
That was discussed as well.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, remember, the alignment in the Taupo Road is what we're discussing in the structure plan. The final design will come down when you decide to do it.
Yes. And
whoever is controlling it, whether it's TKMP, the District Council, or Timbuktu, will then decide what type of roads you want to put in there. All right? Are we finished with page 40?
Well, I'm not happy about that.
When we get to page 55, Councillor Verhagen, if you're not happy with cobblestones, we'll just take the stones out. All right? Page 41.
Sounds good.
Anything on page 41? Okay. If not, we're going to go to page 42. And for your information, I intend to break for lunch at 12:20 and come back at 1. And His Worship the Mayor will be leaving very shortly in the next 2 or 3 minutes.
I will, sir. Thank you.
Page 42.
Yeah.
Councillor Fucking?
Up in that first paragraph, you're referring to the street. The street has been, you've been talking about streets earlier, but then refer to the street as being less inviting. And I'm not sure which street you're referring to at that stage. I think that's just simply just got to be changed.
What paragraph you're on, 42?
It's all right, he's sorted it.
You got it, okay. Councillor McKelvey?
Mr. Chairman, we're forever changing things, but there are sections here that are very well written and very clear. Thank you.
Okay. Page 43.
I'm going to read down, Mr. Chairman, if you wouldn't mind. Just for you. Staff, I have to leave now for reasons we discussed before, Christchurch, what have you. If this gets finished this afternoon and I'm not here, I just want it known publicly and here that I think you've done an absolutely brilliant job of a very long, tedious task, getting to adopt this draft structure plan. I think a lot of the work in here is brilliant. In fact, I'd go so far as to say most of the work in here is brilliant. And I think Taupo will be all the better for it. So congratulations, Mr. Green, to all the staff, you two gentlemen, and all the other people that have worked on this, because it's been a long, long road. And I personally congratulate you and thank you. And with that, I will excuse myself. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We work bloody hard.
Page 43. Over the page 44. Mr. Fagan?
Yeah, down at the bottom bullet point where it refers to the public transport. I mean, that's great if you have efficient public transport services, but I guess that's just is there somewhere that you can put something about, you know, future expansion or whatever? Oh, and the other one was on the right, where you've got the 62% increase in pedestrian traffic and stuff. Where are those statistics from, and to what do they refer?
They refer to the sources given on the left-hand side. Cabe.
To that new road in Brighton. Yes. Perhaps it should say so.
Just coming back to the public transport question, we've already got public transport obviously operating in the town centre, which is what we're referring to. No doubt that'll improve over time. Was there some change to the wording there that we missed?
Yeah, I hope that it does, because it is actually that whole concept of an environmentally sustainable town centre can only happen through that increased, and all of those changes will only happen if you have efficient public transport services. Currently we have, 3 a day?
But I'm starting to see 10 a dozen people outside BP at 20 past 5 now, and I used to see 1 or 2.
That's right.
So
it's improving.
Actually, Mr. Gibbs, you're right. Councillor Kipper and I coming to Waitahanui this morning, I said to Gary, there's that bus that's always empty. But you wouldn't believe how many people were standing along the side on the left-hand side waiting to get in it.
Because all the school kids use it.
Well, there's no school kids.
Right. Okay.
Well, there shouldn't be. Not at 20 to 10, Councillor Fagan.
Oh.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I would totally agree with the sentiments that have just been made, but I think this section is really good because it's actually an educational section. And what is stated on page 44 is a matter of proven fact. That placing design emphasis on streets for people rather than cars has been shown to create many benefits. It's a proven fact, particularly in older countries. So I've got no problem with the wording. It's intended to explain and educate the reader.
What?
It's distinct from being specific to how many buses we've got going around town.
Councillor Burnett?
If I can just quickly come back to page 43, I was a little bit slow off the mark there. On the first paragraph, halfway through where we say pedestrians have more space and freedom, would you mind inserting pedestrians and the mobility impaired, please?
They might not walk, they might ride.
Right, page 45.
To move along
Just a minor point. I quite agree with that last sentence of the first paragraph, but it's not just money. It's resources and it's the will to do this. So somewhere in there, I think that's got to be stated. And this council is obviously keen to start that process, but it's got to be continued.
Sorry,
Future
where are you
councils.
looking?
The first paragraph under a long-term program of change. It says that this means that changes through the town centre will need to take place over the next 20 years or more. It's not just as the money becomes available. There's a lot more to it than that.
So what are we going to replace it with?
Well, I'm happy for the staff to do that. I'm sure they staff and resources, and
I think the suggestion is that it is resources, and at least that covers more than money, but it's also political will and community will and buy-in.
I'd quite like to see that sentence expanded, perhaps to include all of those things, because Otherwise, there's a signal that, oh, well, we've done that, it'll happen, and it won't, unless there's continual drive to make it happen. And it's a priority. Maybe somewhere in there it's got to be prioritised to happen.
Mr Gibbs is on the right line. Any other comments on that page?
Well,
Mr Welch?
we referred to it way back on page 13 when we mentioned affordability. I mean, it's one of the goals. So the underlying thing is that it's going to be sustainable and affordable. So that flows through.
One of the messages we want to make sure was coming through was that people in the community shouldn't expect the streets to be all done up in the next year or two, because this will be an ongoing process.
But there may be situations where there is sources of money that don't necessarily mean that it's council money. There could be, with the right political will, partnerships with adjoining properties to achieve something.
We'll use resources in those other two words that you
Political
did
will
say.
and
Any other things?
Community buy-in.
Okay, page 46. Tongariro Street.
I'd just like to say that I think you've captured a rather significant change from what was originally proposed. I think this has been very carefully handled and very well explained. So thank you.
All right, 47. Councillor Bernard.
I wonder, with your indulgence, that the third paragraph, the last line where we talk about creating a more attractive pedestrian environment, perhaps we could also add attractive and safer pedestrian environment, because that's
third paragraph, last sentence, bottom line, more attractive and safer.
Because that's clearly one of the objectives.
Yes.
Safety is always paramount, though, when you're doing these things, isn't it? Sometimes we take it as a right and forget all about it. Councillor McKelvey.
Yeah, I think the top two photos are great, but couldn't we get some photos out of somewhere else where the trees can enhance the feel of a street that is a New Zealand street, perhaps? There's some beautiful tree streets in New Zealand.
If that hadn't have been a caption on there, I would have swore that was Simon Street down the bottom, going down the hill towards the university on the right.
May have to take a week off and do a little travelling around.
Yeah. Queenstown.
You mean on the web? You mean on the web, Mr. Gibbs?
Oh, damn, my computer skills are nil.
Yeah, okay. All right, page 48. Councillor Hickley?
Just that bottom photograph, our council rules wouldn't allow us to plant trees like that. So, it is a shame.
Sorry, what?
Well, because if you look at those road berms, the actual footpath, they're too narrow for us to plant trees, according to the engineering rules. So we need to have a photograph that actually does just show some, even if it's a little bit more.
You're the only one that know that because you've got 30 years experience. Joe Bloggs isn't. He's going to look
Mr.
at
Gibbs.
But there's a photo on 43 that we're not likely to probably build it like either. But
Turangi.
Mr. Gibbs, come to Turangi and take the streetscape there, because we've got beautiful trees between the road and the footpaths there.
Yep.
And the reason, because Ministry of Works planted them.
Can I just make the point? Can I just make the point, though, that there is more flexibility in council's code of practice these days, and when, like we're talking about, is it a reserve road or is it a public road? Once you wouldn't have done a public road less than 20 metres wide without a great big curb and channel. Now there's a lot more flexibility, and it goes the same for tree planting as well. So we're hoping that we won't get caught in our own cyclic problem of you can't do it for this reason.
And that's why I raised about the road earlier.
Councillor Kelly?
Page 48, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I think we've got Western and Eastern muddled up in the third paragraph. And once again, we've got this very loose use of the term commercial areas.